Welcome to the Soffy Blues, your source for all things Everton, and welcome to the extra time segment for Everton nil, Liverpool nil. Everton draw the opening Merseyside Derby of the season in a much improved Derby performance to the two horror shows of last season. Yes, Everton certainly restored a little bit of pride to the performances in this fixture with that performance. Unlucky not to win, maybe lucky not to lose as well. It was a really frenetic game. Either side could have took it. You could argue it probably should have been 3-3. It was certainly one of the most entertaining nil-nils we've seen. I'm joined by Terry. We're going to look back on one of the better derbies of recent years without a shadow of a doubt as far as Everton are concerned. What was your take on the result for starters? Obviously a 0-0 draw. No, never a bad result to just get out of these games at this moment in time.
No, I always say before the more recent derbies that I've seen Everton lose to Liverpool when they had Jay Spearing in midfield, and we were fifth and they were fourth, and it was a much closer affair in terms of the level of squad. So to now, fast forward to now, and Liverpool are one of the top 4 or 5 teams in world football, and we're not. Basically, you can never look, derby or not, at a game like this and get a point out of it and say that's a bad result. It is a very good result because the differential between the two sets of players, they are a team that's been built over several years by an excellent manager, and they win things. So you don't look at Palace versus City and go, Palace should win that. Well, that's a terrible example because Palace do often beat them. You don't look at Villa and say they should beat Liverpool, do you, when they play them? Because you just think, well, no, because Villa are nowhere near as good as Liverpool. It's the same with Everton at the minute, unfortunately. So getting that draw was a very good result, and it was certainly one of the more watchable 0-0s you'll see, wasn't it? Like, it wasn't like the Anfield game where it was just attack first defence. Everton gave a very good account of themselves. Both teams went toe-to-toe and tried to beat each other. And it was a bit like the 3-3 under Roberto Martinez, or the 2-2 after the lockdown. And yeah, just it was, and in the lockdown, it was just a really good sort of bout between the two teams. Either could have won it. Both had the chances to, and both could probably feel hard done by. We'll come to the details, I'm sure, but yeah, good result and good performance. Their performance above all just showed a lot of character and resilience in these players.
Well, I mentioned the result first because I wanted to actually put more emphasis on the performance, because 0-0 doesn't really tell the full story. I think, obviously we rode our luck at, in terms of our defending our goal, but I thought we gave a really good account of ourselves.
I don't think we rode any luck whatsoever. What point were we lucky? We had instances where good goalkeeping saved us. That wasn't lucky. It was just good goalkeeping.
True.
Look. You say, well, you hit the post twice, we hit it once. Like, that's just luck is when a player gets it 6 yards out and has the whole goal and he misses. That's luck. I don't think we were lucky at all for them not to win, personally.
Yeah, it's actually being quite harsh on us there. I think you think about it all. I was thinking, well, you hit post like 3 times, but I think every time it hits it onto the post. So
yeah, well, you can say, okay, they hit the post a couple of times, but we could have had a penalty, like with the handball. It never got noticed by Milner, so I think it cancels each other out. I think both teams definitely had a case to say they should have won it. Liverpool had the better chances; they had more of them because Pickford made more saves. But it won't go. We had the Mopai chance, which he should just hit across the goal for a tap in for Onana. There's obviously the Tom Davies chance. There's a couple of other ones which weren't really remarked upon, where Mopai gets it across the goal, and Anthony Gordon's just not alive to it, and he's got a tap in if he just gambles at the back post. I think the balance of play, I think the luck, as it were, cancelled each other out. Liverpool were lucky in some instances and we were lucky in others. So I don't think the results or our surviving the results it was a case of us being lucky. I think we just defended well and had a really good goalkeeping performance. But I take your points. Like, the luck came into it at times for both teams.
Early for Liverpool as well, because what we haven't touched on yet is obviously some of the local refereeing in this game. Because obviously you mentioned the penalty. All of them were quite marginal. I don't think anything was stonewall, but all of the marginals went against us, as they so often bloody do in these fixtures. But
Yeah.
obviously the offside. What was your take on the offside and the VAR fiasco? Well, and not obviously not the first VAR fiasco of the weekend either.
Yeah, it was offside. Like, it's unfortunate because they're drawing the lines and all that, but he's offside, isn't he?
He
It
is
was a
off,
big.
and I think the thing for me is that it was the correct decision. It wasn't the fact that they got it wrong. They got it right, but it was how they got to the right decision, because they were drawing lines on slants, and
Yeah.
you don't have a clue what they're doing, do they? And
It's
like,
just, it's just gutting because we scored, and I felt like if that goal would have stood, or a goal in that instance would have stood, we would have won. And Connor Cody, of all people, to score the goal, and his reaction showed anyone who's got any worries about his allegiance. He put that to bed because he was celebrating like he's been wearing Everton kits since he was a kid because he loved it. But yeah, it was offside. It's kicking the guts to have your goal ruled out, same as anything. But when you say there was not on Stonewall, I think there was one up Stonewall, the Van Dijk incident.
yeah, to be fair, that was vicious. And I was saying this the other day, sorry, well, earlier today, to one of my colleagues in work, that Virgil van Dijk is a very good defender, one of the best defenders about. He's a very, very vicious player as well. I think he's one of the worst players for dirty play, and sometimes the best ones are, but he's got a really vicious streak in him. I think I've seen this isn't the first time that he's done that either. To obviously
Yeah,
Anana.
it's a dirty fixture. It's just there's a lot of it, but what annoys me is that it's the inconsistency of the referees. Last season, the justification for Allen being sent off against Newcastle was that he made connection with a player above the ankle height with his studs, even though he didn't, and he got sent off for it. And then now Van Dijk goes over the top of the ball with force, puts his studs on the shin of Onana and breaks down onto the ankle, and it's a yellow card. It's like, well, what the? Is it one or the other? Just follow your own rules. Don't just pick and choose based on who the player is. It's like, it's ridiculous. Like, he should have went.
It's become
You
a
can,
bit of a
you,
parody, obviously, but that checking club badge meme has become a very,
yeah.
very true
The ref was
phenomenon over this weekend, hasn't it?
the ref was shocking all day. It wasn't just for us. He was making sort of like small marginal ones. Like, I remember one he called a goal kick when it was a corner for Everton, for Liverpool, sorry. And just because the crowd, the park end, basically told him it was a goal kick, and he just went with the force of that. Obviously, the big decision for me was that Van Dijk. He should have been sent off. Like, he's that's a red card offence. It's not malicious, but intent doesn't come into it. It's what he's done, and he's done something that
Okay, Alan did far less harm with what he did last season and got a red for it.
Yeah, exactly. So that, and the handball, I didn't see that as the match went on. I only saw that after the fact. Milner's moved his arm towards the ball to stop the shot, and it happened so fast that even the VAR hasn't picked it up. Whatever. I didn't see it. I mean, the VAR's paid to pick those things up, but the red card was the main one for me. Got no complaints over the offside. I was gutted. I wished it wasn't, but it was offside. The red, it should have been a red card. Like, there's loads of other ones that Liverpool fans could probably say, well, he should have been booked for this, he should have had that. Yeah, probably. There was probably instances as well where they were hard done by, but there was no sending off incident that got turned away. Like, and obviously they'll go back to previous seasons. Pickford didn't get sent off for injury, Van Dijk's like, yeah, true, he never. But if you want to play that game, I've got a list 10 times longer than
that could be endless for us in derbies. Like, honest to God.
I couldn't say that Everton have never got away with it in a derby, but the two lists are very different in size for how much they've got
In
away
it
with.
just absolutely. But I think the thing
So
with Van Dijk for me is that it isn't the first time that he's done this. Like you mentioned, the derby can be one of those games anyway. But I remember just alone before that Pickford incident, he volleyed James Rodriguez, smashed Calvert-Lewin to the floor, and according to the BBC, that wasn't I'm the Daddy challenge. And obviously like 5 minutes later he went off injured because of the Pickford thing. But this is the thing is like Virgil van Dijk, as good as he is, he's a rough out.
that
He's a rough house as well.
that's the media though. Like it's the it's the same Harry Kane thing. Like if he dives, it's streetwise and clever. If a foreign player dives, it's diving. It's the same that the Sky Six clubs don't get portrayed as the same. Like it was since it's Liverpool. Van Dijk, yeah, physical, little bit of a dirty player. Doesn't mean none of our players are dirty. Of course they are. Some of them
Not
are.
at all.
But he doesn't get portrayed as it. Like before he got injured by Pickford, he did injure James Rodriguez, and he was out for several weeks afterwards because he basically did damage to his testicle, I believe.
Yeah, I think he volleyed him in the gonads.
Yeah, and there's been other derbies where he should have been pulled off for penalties, and he's just got away with it. But it's the same with anything. Steven Gerrard was a diver, but it's never. No one will ever tell you that because the media just like with Harry Kane. I mean, Harry Kane got so egregious that they had to start mentioning it. But like, it's not specific to Liverpool. It's specific to darling clubs and darling players. It will never get commented on that Gerrard was a dirty player and a diver. He was a brilliant world-class player, and that's the bit that gets remembered, though. Whereas other players...
No one will remember that time when he stamped on Gary Naismith in a derby. Do you remember that one?
I mean, that gets remembered by people like Liverpool because they use that image so much as like this, like the nature of the derby. But it's just the favouritism. It's just I'm not even pointing like, oh, referees let him away with it. It's just it never gets commented on, and it gets commented on in the reverse scenario. If Onana goes over the top of the ball and gets Van Dijk like that, a lot more is made of it. If he's not sent off himself, which I think he might have been, it's the case of it's not just a Liverpool thing. That though, I've got to be honest, that's all the Sky Six clubs. It's the same with any of them.
Well, we saw it like what happened to us. We got had off on occasions on Saturday, but like it happened to West Ham against Chelsea. It happened to Villa against City. I think there was something a bit dodgy went on. There was a really I don't know if you watched the Brighton game. There was a really good goal that got wrongly disallowed, in my opinion. And by the letter of the law, it should be, but the VAR is just destroying footy, isn't it?
I don't think it is. The referees are destroying footy. VAR is a software. That's not doing anything. It's the people implementing it. If you can't play guitar and you reckon the song at the festival, you don't blame the guitar, do you? You're playing the fella who's playing it. It's the people playing the instruments, not the instruments. So I don't know what the answer is. I certainly don't. I think people forget how bad it was pre-VAR as well when they wanted rid of it. I don't want rid of VAR. I want it to be streamlined so it's used more effectively. I want better referees.
Yeah, we want that pig mole, whatever it is, that pig mole.
Better refs.
Match officials, whatever it is.
Better refs, pay them more so you can get... people say, get ex-players to do it. No, I think we've got enough bias. I don't want Danny Murphy.
Can we have Gary Neville and Gallagher ref in the game? That's what he was doing that with players anyway.
I don't want frigging Dean Saunders and Danny Murphy sitting in the VAR room deciding whether ever because that diving panel a few years ago that did Nias, like that had Danny Murphy on it. It's like, yeah, let's ask an ex-Liverpool knobhead whether he thinks an Everton player dived and should get a retrospective ban. Oh, I wonder what he said. Like, I don't want ex-pros in those rooms because it'll be the same as the media. It will be ex-pros from the darling clubs, and you'll just see the same favouritism. Anyway, I've gone off. Let's get back to the match.
Yeah, that was the VAR answer. I had to throw that in at some stage, but
this weekend, though.
And obviously well, it's not just Everton. It was like just across the board. It needed to be said that. But yeah, on the game, obviously we were unlucky with some of the decisions. Both sides had the chances, but on the actual performances, we're going to focus on the player performances now because there was no one who really put a bad showing in for us. throughout the whole team. I don't think. I think Jordan Pickford got man of the match, and you can understand why. Some world class saves. Um, in front of him though, Tarkowski, Cody, solid.
Yeah, I mean, all back four. Patterson was immense. Two centre backs handled their job all day. There was only really one incident where Nunes got over in behind them from the ball over the top, and he hit that shot where Pickford pulled off a great save. But other than that, they handled him quite well. Michaelenko, I mean, Salah's not been himself all season. He's obviously getting asked to play a different role than he usually plays. He's staying out wide more than he used to. He's not doing that out from in run as much. And Michaelenko was one of the few bright spots in the Anfield derby that we lost earlier in the year. That I thought Michaelenko actually did really well against Alexander-Arnold and Salah. Like, I wouldn't go so far as to say, he didn't get a sniff because of him. No, but some players get minced by that right-hand side, the best right-hand side attacking flank in Europe, them two, let's be honest.
Whispering quietly, Lucas Dean used to get skinned.
Yeah.
Game in, game out in these derbies.
I like Lucas Dean and I rated him, and he didn't get battered every derby. But there were some derbies where he got made a show of by the two of them. And Michaelenko and the two he's done so far has done really well. So the whole back four, the Onana played really well. Tom Davies played really well. Wobie carried on his form. The only players I could say didn't really have good games in the whole team were Gordon, who he didn't turn up for the game. He just was not in the game. He wasn't affecting the game. And ironically, in the derby at Anfield, he was the most effective player. He was getting the better of Alexander-Arnold a lot. He just couldn't make the impact and hurt them because we didn't have the firepower to score past them that day. But he was anonymous in this game, Gordon. And Amari Gray, he was involved a lot, but he kept losing the ball. So they're the only two who I think didn't have exemplary games. Everyone else, I think, did their job really well.
Yeah, I think more again. I'm thinking about Onana again because he's like such a young lad. He dealt with the occasion really well. I thought obviously got an early booking, but I think it was a bit of a soft booking, wasn't
it? He got a booking because he basically of a collision between the two players. They came together. You know, I don't see why he got booked for it. I thought that was ridiculous. And then Luis Diaz swung an arm at Patterson. All right, he didn't hit him. I wouldn't have said, you got to send him off or anything like that. But you can't swing your arm. Why was he? Then the referee bollocked the two of them. It's like, hang on, what are you bollocking Patterson for? You swung an arm at him. You should give him either the warning or the card for that. But certainly don't be booking Onana for an innocuous, coming together foul. Like,
I heard some muppet on Twitter earlier on today on like one of them podcasts saying that Onana deserved to get like smashed by Van Dijk because he rattled like some like that Liverpool kid that he got a booking for.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about, and he's an absolute idiot. I've never. Yeah, I know who he is and what show he's on, and I've never liked him. He's a cosplaying Liverpool fan. Oh, I spent 5 minutes in Liverpool when I was a kid, so I'm a big Liverpool fan. Like, yeah, all right, mate. You're from London, and you're just basically glory hunting a good team. Stop. The way people dress up like superheroes and go to conventions, he dresses up as a Liverpool fan and to watch them. He's not a Liverpool fan. He thinks he is, but he isn't.
Oh, honest to God. But yeah, the emphasis here obviously on the performance, how well everyone played. Neil Maupay made his debut. Missed a really good chance, obviously. Beyond that, I thought he did really well up top.
Yeah, I agree. I think he made a massive difference by just having someone, a proper striker up there, affected the rest of the team. He did what he could because he's playing against, Van Dijk and Gomez, and I think Gomez is good as well. He, crafted whatever little opportunities he could. He obviously had that, big chance, which he didn't take. But worked hard, pressured when he needed to, and provided an outlet for the other players, which has been sorely missed in the previous games. I think if we'd have had Maupay at the start of the season, we'd have a lot more points because we'd have scored more goals. I think we could have got a point out of Chelsea. We could have got a point out of Villa. We might have been able to beat especially Leeds, the way that game was
Forest
going.
as well. We'd have beaten Forest, I think.
Yeah. I mean, Brentford, I think we were quite lucky to get away there, but yeah, I think he would have had a much different set of games if we'd had that striker, if we'd have had Mopey in that team.
Definitely. But what we'll say is, I was when I checked the score. I'll be honest, I was I don't know if you were aware of the it was National Cinema Day on Saturday, so I was hiding in the pictures. Um, I did not watch this at all, and I, I just couldn't bring myself to do it. It just brings the worst out in me, these games. Like I say, even when we do well in these, I don't like talking about derbies. But I was a very relieved man when I checked the score and it was what it was, and just to know that we've got a good few months now until we've got to go through all this again. It's always nice just to get this out the way. I'm glad we got it out the way early doors this season.
Yeah, I mean, I know what you mean. Like, they're stressful because we don't win them often. If you were, the Liverpool fans don't find them stressful at all, I'm sure. But if
Probably not,
we, like,
no.
no, because they win most of them, and the ones they don't play well in, they often just draw. So, but I take what you mean. I don't like them either because they bring the worst out of all the supporters. Like, and they're not
All the
very
things
near.
that we saw over the weekend, it was vile. Some of it.
Yeah, just absolute idiots on both sides. Like graffiti and things, and like Bucharest
Stickers
flag,
on stickers on the memorial wall, murals getting wrecked, and
racist. Like say things getting wrote on stuff, and uh, you know idiots running on the pitch to confront a referee. Like, what's wrong with people? Like, I hate it. It brings the worst out in large swaths of the fan base, and we all. Well, it takes large swaths. It brings it out in a group of each fan base, and everyone else gets tired with it. But even just on the pitch, it's then nerve-wracking games. You feel ill at the thought of losing it, and you'd think you'd get used to it, but you never do. But yeah, I think if you can come away from one and not be moaning about the referee and think that's a fair result, you're lucky. We got half of that. You looked at it and went, that's a fair result, but the ref was still crap.
yeah,
I've always said I'd rather lose handily than lose via injustice. I hate the ones where like you think like you've been done over. I'd rather just get battered than be screwed. That's the way
yeah,
it's.
get you.
Look,
Well, it's either way. It's normally a toss up between one or the other. Thankfully, it was neither this time. We got a
yeah.
decent result there. But yeah, it was. I don't know if you were aware of that National Cinema Day. It was like all the cinemas were selling tickets for films for £3, so I went and watched that. No, and yeah, I decided to like just go and hide away and watch that instead of putting myself through the rigmarole of it all because I haven't watched the derby now. I don't think since the 2-2 you mentioned in the lockdown. I didn't watch the one we won, which obviously I did regret a bit, but then at the same time I don't because it's just like I say, it brings out the worst in everybody, and it's just not worth stress.
No, I haven't missed them, but you did miss something when we won at Anfield. I thought like, oh well, no fans, no, I don't care. It reset the clock on that frigging stupid like run we were on. And I'm old enough to like remember when we used to win a few derbies, like late '90s and the Moyes era, the early Moyes era. We were never great in derbies under Moyes, but we weren't as bad as we went after him because we never won them. Like we won the Carsley one, we won like a couple of different
The Andy
ones. Like
Johnson one stands as one of my favourite
Steve
derbies of all time.
Dan Gosling in the FA Cup, the Arteta and Kale one. They weren't like you beat them every year, but it wasn't like now where like we went 2 decades without winning at Anfield, and we hadn't won. We still haven't won, like won at Goodison since that 2010 one for 12 years. But the Goodison ones are weird. Most of them are draws, and there's always chances to win them. Like the Allardyce one where Calvert-Lewin only had to put it in the net and we scored, and the one after the lockdown one where Tom Davies hit the post again that day for ironically if he scores
that one,
yeah, like we get beaten in a lot of derbies, but there's some way you just think you get away with it. Why do we never get away with it when
that was another one, that Tom Davis one where he hit the post. That one, I think I hidden in some sort of man cave that day as well and didn't watch that. I think it's beautiful.
you get used to it, and plus I haven't got any particularly bad mates who are Reds. I've got mates who are Reds, but they're all sound. I haven't got any one. So I've got nothing to hide from. But you just see, when you've got that window to the rest of the world called social media. Yeah,
Oh, there's others, isn't it?
I'm on Twitter practically 24/7. I'm just the way I am, and you just know, like, every single creature in the city is going to embarrass themselves over this.
Creatures the way for it.
And I hate it. I just think it's just doing us such a disservice. Like, spray painting the murals and the frigging food bank stuff, and then Bucharest flag. I've touched on all this, but just like absolute morons, or everyone who gets involved in all that. It's just footy. We're no different than them. The Reds and us and the Reds are identical, but they wear red and white scarves and we wear blue and white scarves when we go to match. We're no difference, but we forget that. And
not that deep, is it? Really?
Yeah. We all hate Tories at the end of the day.
Exactly. Far bigger things, and yeah, like I say, it's always nice just to get this derby out the way early doors in the season. I think this is only match day 5 or 6, and have it out the way it's a big weight off the shoulders, I think.
Yeah, plus if you lose it, you get a lot of time to get over it and move on.
That too, yeah, but also just to know that you haven't got to if you're on a good run, it's not coming up to ruin your season, and if you're on a bad run, we haven't got to play them next.
Yeah, the December derby often does that to you. The Pickford and Origi.
I hate that.
Yeah, Pickford and Origi one practically ruined the set of the season, didn't it? It took us till the international break in March to recover from that. We came back and started playing well again.
No, but just also obviously they sing them stupid Christmas songs and all that. I'm just glad that's not a goal this season.
I don't mind all that. If we were beating them every year and we had songs to take the piss, I'd be singing them with all my voice. I can take all that. It's just the other stuff they go too far. Well, no, everyone goes too far.
They can stick the lot of it as far as I'm concerned. I'm going to go. I'm already booking my cinema tickets for the next derby. So I just go and lock myself away in a cave again. Can't bring myself to watch them. And you know what? My mental health is far better for it.
Yeah, just check the result like you're looking through the window of a shop back in the old days.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. That's where the world does miss a rumble or whatever it was.
Yeah, Dixon's, you'd go and look at the scores at 10-5 on a Saturday when you were out shopping.
Yeah, well, there you have it, guys. We'll wrap it up there anyway. Good results, nonetheless. I'm a lot happier than I was expecting to be when we was going to record this show. So, at any day, Everton 0, Liverpool 0. Let us know your opinions on the game. Drop us a comment below, of course. Give us video a like. Subscribe for more content. Hopefully, more positive content, because I haven't felt this positive for a while. I can tell you that much. Long may it continue. Yeah, get your comments in, like and subscribe. Until next time, guys. Thank you for watching on the Toffee Blues.